Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we disassemble a film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe into 1 minute segments and then examine it in obsessive and occasionally hilarious detail. I'm Kyle Olson from the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society podcast.
Hey, and I'm Rob Cabasco. And Kyle.
Yes, sir.
You as a writer certainly must be concerned with one indelible question. Can we run out of ink?
Oh, that's true.
Is it possible?
I would expect so. The ink cannot be recycled.
Oh,
it can only be manufactured.
Guess what? I'm glad we're talking about this.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. If we're going to ask that question, we should answer the first question of what is ink? Ink is either an organic or inorganic pigment or dye dissolved or suspended in a solvent. It's basically paint. That's what paint is. Okay, so we have to mix it up.
So every pen is just a miniature paint roller?
A ballpoint pen, yeah, actually.
Wow.
I mean, it's thin. It's much thinner paint. Sure. The viscosity is different. But yes, now, here's the deal. For most of modern history, that solvent has been petroleum-based. And petroleum, I'm talking about the Texas tea, the black gold. I'm talking about that.
First thing you know.
Exactly. Now, in the 1970s, rising oil prices caused in the United States the Newspaper Association of America to look at different ways of making ink. They tested over 2,000 different oil formulations, many of them involving vegetable oils. They came up with a solution that uses soybean oil. In 1987, it was tested in Iowa, and the printing test was successful. Fast forward to today, more than 90% of our daily newspapers are printed with color soy ink. Why is that important? Because soy ink, it gives us brighter colors, it's biodegradable, and it's renewable. Because soybeans, you can grow more.
That's
if
true.
You'd like to create more soybean oil to make more ink. So the answer, can we run out of ink? No, we can't.
And that's going to be a significant question that's going to be answered here in Minute 94 of Iron Man 2 from 2010, directed by Jon Favreau. But you had more to say on ink.
No, I didn't. I just said, once again, Justin Hammer, the beautiful writing of this character, he says something he thinks is smart. It turns out it's the opposite.
Yeah, especially if we're a technologist.
Yes.
So we picked up where we left off, which is the middle of the very beginning, I should say, of Justin Hammer's speech at the Tony's Expo. And when he's talking about, he's referring to the Iron Man armor. So he continues on here, Minute 94. Sadly, that technology was kept out of reach. I like that, was kept out of reach. Not is out of reach, but was kept out of reach. That's not fair. That's not right. And it's just too bad. And they cut to the audience, and Pepper and Natalie are out there, and Pepper goes, "Oh, Lord." Like, oh, this guy. So then Justin says, regardless, it was an impressive innovation, one that grabbed headlines the world over. Well, today, my friends, the press is faced with quite a difficult problem. They are about to run out of ink.
No.
And it's just crickets. Like, the audience just like,
oh, there's like two people in the audience. That lady behind Pepper that's like, Okay, but here's what's brilliant about that. It's, again, another moment of Justin not being able to read the audience. He in his mind thinks that this is such an amazing joke that I'm going to pull, and it's going to be like, whoa. Here's what he's not getting. One, on the surface, most people hear that joke and go, that's dumb. First of all, it's modern times. I don't read a newspaper. I've touched a newspaper in 10 years. What are you talking about? But I love the fact that there is even a greater nuance to the joke in that they can't run out of ink because we can make more ink. Like, this is the same as the James Joyce Ulysses joke that we mentioned earlier in the movie, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
And I love this. Like, if you don't know the detail, the depths of this,
Ulysses look like it was written in crayon.
It was. I love the writing of his character.
Yes.
Showing that it's so superficial. Like, I just think this is great. And honestly, to be really honest with you, I've seen this movie a bunch of times. I always thought the joke was that nobody reads newspapers anymore.
Oh, well, that's true too. Yeah.
No, it's a deeper joke than that because they can't run out of ink because you don't even understand how that works. Anyway.
Yeah. So then as this joke is flatlined.
And it does. And it's totally it completely has gone off right.
A couple of people come in and take the podium off. But it made me start to think of public speaking. And I was curious, what is the largest crowd you have ever spoken in front of? Oh, you personally, Rob?
Me personally, in my days of when I was in high school, I was in Key Club, and I know we've mentioned this. I think like different things. I have spoken probably in front of 3,000 people.
3,000, okay.
3,000.
Wow. And what was like? Were you giving a professional speech? Like you had written a speech in advance? And like this was like there's a bunch of speeches that day. Like
no. A lot of times I spoke at multiple conventions. Like, I mean, where I would actually have to give remarks, and those ranged anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 people. Yes. Multiple times.
Did you ever have a joke that just died like that? Were you like, this is a funny line? And
actually, I did.
Okay. I know it sounds like a bit, but I'm legitimately curious about this.
No. I can actually think of. There was I think one of the first times I went back after I graduated high school and I went back to speak at one of the conventions, I had some weird, I can't believe I'm remembering this. I had some weird story about alliteration, and I was using the word pee, and I was talking about passion. Oh, I cannot believe I'm remembering this. I was trying to bring it all together, like parents and your passion and your purpose. And then I think I actually tried to connect that to like, at the time in the 90s, we all knew what PPP was, point-to-point protocol. And I think I tried to make a connection. And let me just say something to you. Every one of the 15 and 16-year-old kids that were in that room, like 1,000 of them, did not get what I was saying. And I remember thinking to myself, crap. Hey, everyone, just have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Don't enjoy yourselves too much. We'll see you on Sunday. Like, I think it was one of those where you just go, it's always better to just admit defeat.
Yep.
And then just move on.
Just move on. Yeah. This is more of an anecdote than a story. So I like that. So I'm telling you this because it doesn't have like a big climax. But the biggest crowd I ever spoke in front of was about 5,000 people. And this was during the time when I was working as a moderator for Phoenix Comic-Con. And now it's become Phoenix Fan Fusion. And now because of the state of the world, I don't even know if that's even a thing anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
But so you start out and you go through your training and you work your way up. So you start out with very small panels. So my first panel actually ended up being in like what we call the big room, which is basically the audience hall that fills. But it was in a Sunday morning. It was very small, and so like only a small group of people. It was for Tron, the movie. They were doing a thing on Tron, and so we had a couple actors from Tron on there. It was a great panel, but there was only a handful of people showed up. So maybe 60 people or whatever. So it was good for my first one. But then as the years go by, you build up, and then you show that you can handle yourself. So I wasn't actually scheduled to be the moderator for this panel, and it was a panel for Stephen Amell. Stephen Amell it will always be Green Arrow, but at the time he was on Green Arrow. So this is like between like the 4th and 5th season. So like Green Arrow is like the hottest show on the CW at the time. So it was a big deal that he was there. So I was just backstage working, but I wasn't actually scheduled to be on his panel. His moderator was a different person, and so they were talking about what you do is when you're part of you're basically responsible for that person. So like there is a team that makes sure that they're where they're supposed to be, and then they sort of hand it off to you because you're going to be on stage with that person. And so the conversation always then has to happen. How do they want to do it? Like different performers have different comfort levels. So I've had people who are like, I've done 100 of these, man. Like, just introduce me. Great. Like that's like our job is basically do whatever they want to do. So I basically come out and say, ladies and gentlemen, person X, and they come out. I walk off stage. I just sit there and I keep time to make sure that because they only could talk for an hour. Like they don't get to spend all day, nor do they want to. And so then I come back on stage, 5 minutes before and say, last question, and then take them off stage. Other people are not as comfortable in big groups, which is totally understandable, and so you have to stay with them. And that's part of your job. And additionally, it could be that the audience is just there to see them. They really don't want to have a conversation or ask questions or anything. Sure. And so your job as moderator is to keep the conversation going. And so you actually have to have stuff prepared just in case there's that no one in the audience has any questions, and so that's part of this is the training you go through. So in this case, Stephen wanted to come out with the moderator, the woman who was doing the panel with him. Like, he wanted them to come out together and then stay there together through the panel and stuff. So I happened to be there, and so they asked me if I would go out and do basically the housekeeping is what we call it. So I just basically got to walk out there and go, hey everybody, I hope you're here. I hope you're excited. And so you go through all the stuff, like because it was a full house, it was everyone doing it. And I walked out and I stood there for a second, and it was like, this is a full house. Like, every seat of this is full, and people are standing at the walls. I'm like, and so I was like, I know this room seats 5,000 people. There are 5,000 people in those seats, and
don't think about that.
I know. Well, that's the thing is, I don't actually get stage fright like that.
Right.
So it was fine, but it was sort of like, I'm like, wow, this is kind of neat. And so, like, I have some shtick, it's like I do. And so, yeah. Oh, no, I do. I like, because you do this, and because I know that I've been at so many conventions, so many panels and stuff too, and I know sort of what the person on the front says, and know how he's doing it. So I try and shake it up so that they don't know exactly what I'm going to say or how I'm going to say it. So I'm telling you the same stuff. I'm telling you, if there's open spaces, move in. And so, like I remember at the Renaissance Fair, they play a game called Grope Your Neighbor, where you turn to your left and you grope and slide and grope and slide. And so I'm like, okay, I don't want to do that, but I did variations on that just to, like I said, like, I know that your limited edition Rick and Morty print is important to you, but it's not important enough to have its own seat. So I'm going to need you to take that off and put it under this, that kind of stuff. Like, and so those kind of things. And so I just basically doing a little thing just to say, here's what's going on. And like, this is when we're going to start. Here's how it's going to go. Questions are over there. You need to go out and stuff too. And I, get up there and do my 5 minutes and then walk off and do that. So like I said, it wasn't like I didn't crash and burn. I didn't fall off the stage. I got some laughs, which is what I always like, because that's like they're actually listening. And I always like to make a reference to the show so they know that I'm a fan. So I can't remember what it was because it was so many years ago, but like I made a Green Arrow reference so they know that I'm not just like a shill, I'm in on the joke with you. Like, I'm also a fan. And I'm saying I would say stuff like, I saw him backstage. Yes, he's here. And yes, he is as good looking as you hoped he would be, like that kind of stuff, to get the crowd excited and stuff too. And they laugh and stuff too. And they later on in the crowd, like I actually had a couple people, literally two, come up and say, hey, you did a really great job up there. And I said, oh, thank you very much. Cause I was just on for that 5 minutes, but so like my panels never really got that big. I had some people, I have specific names, and I've met a lot of people, but I never really got to get the triple A, the main person, the person that's like that their name is right underneath the name of the show that they're at. Phoenix Comic Con presents, and then like Clark Gregg or whatever. Like, I never got to that level before I retired from moderating. But so the biggest crowd I ever addressed was that one, and it went pretty well.
I'm gonna coin a phrase that I guarantee will be used again. But it is great to hear your story of how you became the prince of the pivot. That's quite spectacular. We all are trying to be you, because you have the great. Oh my God, this turned into a love fest for you and me. We have a minute to talk about.
I know, right? Let's say, it's like this. We have more to talk about. It's not one of those minutes where there's nothing to talk about. There actually is stuff, but I really thought, I know that you have done a lot of public speaking, and so I thought you might have those kind of stories. And I was thought like, oh, that's a fun kind of story. I mean, I can tell you stories when panels have gone horribly wrong, or I can tell you stories of when the people on the panel were actively hostile to me, and I had to like keep going with a smile on my face. But like, I was more just thinking about the size of the crowd.
Let me tell you something. Whenever you think things are bad, self-deprecating humor is always the way to go.
Sure.
Because people love to slam other people. Right. So, I mean, that's always good for a laugh. And at this point, and here's the thing. Okay, as we pivot back to our friend Justin
back to
Hammer,
the Marvel movie minute.
The thing I love about this is that he's bombed. Okay, that joke bombed. He doesn't even realize to the depths of which it bombed.
But he knows.
He knows.
Because he's pissed.
Yeah, well, and plus there was like two people that clapped. So you have the two stagehands come to take the podium away. And I love the fact that he's like, yeah, get that out of here. Like, because the point is he's projecting it's the podium's fault that this didn't go well.
Stupid podium.
I do really like that. I think that's kind of funny. So So the podium's gone.
The podium's gone, and then so he then tries to get the back together. And so actually, he does a pretty good job because like the big part of the presentation is coming up, and it goes over pretty well. He says, "Ladies and gentlemen, today I present you the new face of the United States military, the hammer drone." And then a panel in the floor slides away, and these drones rise up. And so we get to see now what has been done to them. So we had seen the sort of the Bondo gray, like basically the vanilla version of the suits, and now they have been transformed into drones. So everything we're going to see here for the next 2 minutes is all the great work of industrial light and magic. This was one of the first things they were given, and they gave it to them very, very early because they knew how complicated it would be. So this is also then one of the first special effects things that were finished. So all of this is CG. Like, Sam Rockwell is on an empty stage, so there's no things on the floor. There's nothing that like the one shot they do where they're first rising up across the back with the lights. I think that's a real shot, and they just add in all the stuff there because the lights themselves that are moving around look real, right? But then like the hammer drones that come out on there. So these are the Army. So that's the first thing he says is Army, and they raise up, and you can see they have Army colors, and we get to hear music playing, and it actually is the U.S. Army's "The Army Goes Rolling Along," the caisson song. Yes. So, the United States Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, and the Coast Guard had all had their officially adopted songs, but the Army did not have their own. They were the last ones to get it. So in 1948, they had a contest to get it, and but they couldn't really find one that they liked. So in 1952, the Secretary of the Army, Frank Pace, asked the music industry to submit songs. So he went out to basically 2 professional musicians and said, "Can you help us have an Army song?" So they got more than 800 submissions, and so the one that won was "The Army's Always There." What? That's not "The Army Goes Rolling Along." No, but actually it was the one that won the contest, and they actually performed it at Dwight D. Eisenhower's inaugural parade in 1953. But they decided not to use it because they realized the tune for "The Army's Always There" was very similar to a very popular song at the time called "I've Got a Lovely Bunch of Coconuts."
Well, this is one of the greatest, if you're a military buff of any kind, if you know anything about this, this is one of the weirdest stories ever. Because, and I didn't listen to, I mean, okay, it's a 1940 song. Yeah. "I've Got a Lovely Bunch of Coconuts" is not a surprising title for a song from the late 40s. Can you hear the song? Does it sound similar? I couldn't find.
I have
sample.
not. Yeah. So I found "I've Got a Lovely Bunch of Coconuts" because that's been reformed. But finding a version of "The Army's Always There" is a lot more difficult to track down. But for those of you who wonder what the song sounds like, you've heard it because they sing a verse of "I've Got a Lovely Bunch of Coconuts" in "The Lion King." When Zazu is being has been captured, and that's Scar's favorite song. So that is what he sings to him to calm him down. "I've got a bunch of coconuts. There they all are standing on a row." Anyway,
that's not going to work. Yeah, that's okay. No. Yeah, makes sense.
So everybody decided to keep the melody from the U.S. Field Artillery March, but they decided to write new lyrics for it. So Harold W. Arberg was a music advisor to the adjutant general. He submitted lyrics, basically what we know today, and they were accepted. So the Secretary of the Army, Wilbur Marion Brucker, dedicated the music on Veterans Day, November 11th, 1956. So the song is played at the conclusion of most U.S. military ceremonies, and all soldiers are expected to stand at attention and sing. When more than one service song is played, they are played in the order specified by the Department of Defense Directive. Yes, that's right. The Defense Directive actually says this is the order they need to be played in, and it is not the order that is played here. So we're going to hear these songs, and Justin Hammer is playing them in the wrong order. So it's supposed to be Army, then Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and then Coast Guard. But that's not the order that Justin plays them in. So somewhere there's a DOD person out there like...
Well, you know why he plays them in this order? Because this is the classic 80s television commercial.
Oh, I was going to think from Stripes.
Well, but yes, that's based on. That's based on the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. What a great place. It's a great place to start. Like I remember that commercial.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, no, he's going. Yeah, this is not the correct order, obviously, but well, not obviously. Most people wouldn't know that, but yes.
So the lyrics go, first to fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. I'm not going to sing it for you. Sorry. I wonder that might be, it might be, treasonous if I sing it badly. So I don't want to take the chance of it. And I actually know some people who are members of the army or former members of particularly the army, and they take this stuff very seriously. So,
yes.
However, a person who does not take this very seriously is Tom Lehrer, because at the time he was a musical comedian. He's actually still alive right now, but interestingly, he recently took all of his humorous songs and gave them to the public. He basically said, all my songs, he put them out there. So he's still, he's in the 90s, still alive today. But he decided he was going to submit his own song for consideration during that time that they were asking for submissions. So he wrote a song called "It Makes a Fellow Proud to Be a Soldier." And it's pretty obvious why it wasn't chosen. So I've picked out one lyric that he had in this song, and it says, I'm not going to sing it as well, but you can find it online. After Johnny got through basic training, he was a soldier through and through. When he was done, the effects were so well rooted that the next day he saluted a good humor man, an usher, and a nun.
What? I mean, that's Tom Lehrer.
That's Tom Lehrer. He's very, very smart, funny, as opposed to dirty funny.
The periodic table of elements song, which is what most people probably know him for.
And poisoning pigeons in the park. I think that's probably pretty.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, I'm glad. I wasn't expecting we were going to go into the deep dive on the music, but I'm glad we did because this is such a wonderful sequence. Mm-hmm. I cannot say this enough. This is one of the neatest. The amount of love and attention that went in to the production of this this part going on to the next minute. Yeah. The introduction of these drones. We just said, I mean, the one thing that I think the Justin Hammer character in this period of the movie benefits from is even though he's dorky, even though he's picking the wrong things to say at the wrong time. Yeah. He knows this introduction is strong. And when he introduces the drones, this is like what a Google presentation and an Apple presentation look like today. Yeah. The entire back part of the stage is just one big digital screen. And you've got the whole animated spotlights that are all around it. And as soon as he introduces them, the music kicks in like we've been saying, but there's this amazing footage that looks tremendous of the army playing, and it's just got this big, beautiful typeset army. And as they rise from the smoke, I mean, it's the theatrics are absolutely incredible. Yeah. If you were someone in this audience, you'd go, "Oh, I don't care if this guy's a dork. This is amazing." Yeah, that's the thing that's cool about this is it's a really good presentation. Yes, I mean, even just the way they've had set up in the first minute, here and before was sort of like, oh, this is going to be a goof, like he's going to fall on his face or whatever. But no, this is I can see that the DOD would have been drooling, oh yes, yeah, I want that. Well, and the great part about this is not just the whole, and we're going to get into, there's much more attention to detail in this. Yeah. But they cut then to another shot of Pepper and Natasha in the seats. And Pepper looks over to her like, oh, how did he do this? And okay, here's my question, because I've always been curious about this. Mm-hmm. Well, Natasha looks at her, and she is she acting, or is she genuinely just as surprised? I think she's genuinely surprised. I don't think anybody really knew this was coming. Even that, as far as we know, S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't have anyone inside Hammer. And so everything that we're seeing here has been put together in the last 3 days. Oh yeah, right. I mean, I'd actually have to look up the timeline to find out what it was. But essentially, by the MCU timeline, if I'm remembering correctly, this is only a couple of days after Ivan, died in police custody. I would say less than a week. Well, it's amazing because their reactions sell it. I mean, it isn't just, in fact, and they don't need to sell it because the actual presentation is so good. That's the part that's amazing. Now, we're not going to be able to fully enjoy the complexity of this until the next minute. So here's a little tease.
Yeah, exactly.
But as we see these drones come up, we see immediately these look like legitimate. I mean, they are legitimate drones, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they look amazing. And there's incredible detail online that you can get into the armaments and everything that these have.
He talks about all the different, how you want to have different weaponry for each one. So like the army ones have a long sort of howitzer cannon on the side. It's I guess it's called the Bushmaster, which I find interesting because there's also a Marvel character named Bushmaster. But yeah, so they have those, and so they have different armaments than the other ones, and so we'll get into those as we go along.
Yeah, and Bushmaster is an actual weapon. They're a weapons company that is a real company. They exist today.
Yeah.
But okay, what I love though is when you see this. Okay, so the two big things you see about these kind of look like the same drones that we've seen earlier in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But one, they're army green now.
Yes,
they've got designation paints. Painting on them that you would kind of think of if you saw a tank. So if you think of what a tank looks like, an army, you would associate that with the army. That's what you see here. And I love that you've got that. You've got this big, it's the Bushmaster M242 gun. And then they've got looks like on either one or both arms, these grenade launchers. So they're literally walking tanks.
Yeah.
And you can't see it. You can kind of see it just a little bit in the sequence, but you can also see, and you'll see this play out in a later minute. Their foot area actually has these basically anchor spikes that come out from the foot. And you'll see that, and you can see it in a little bit as the camera pans. But I just love the fact that, okay, if you had any interest in the military and you said, make me an army drone, but not, not in the other branches, this is such a great creative realization of that in terms of the color and the design and the armaments. I just think this is so cool the way they've done this. I wish there were more toys. A little side note on this. There have been replicas made by some Japanese toy companies and like of the Hot Toys variety. So they're very expensive.
Very expensive, yeah.
Yeah, they're very expensive. They've never done, hello, Hasbro, Marvel Legends.
Yeah.
The 4-pack you're missing is the 4-pack of the Hammer drones in the Marvel Legends scale. Would be incredible.
Here's what I will counter that, or to add on to it. I will say, here's what you need to do, Hasbro Pulse.
Yes.
A 2-pack of Justin Hammer and a drone. And then you can have the different types of drones as secondary ones to all the other papers. So like Target gets Air Force and Walmart gets Navy, and spread their stuff around. It's a way for you to multi-market all that kind of stuff, because I just want a Justin Hammer figure, please.
Okay,
I have $20 in my hand. I want to give it to you, Hasbro. Let me have a Justin Hammer figure.
Wait, can I just say something to you?
Yeah.
First of all, this is a weird episode, everybody. We went all over the place.
Yes, we did.
You do not want them to do that, because here's the deal. Anybody who's tried to collect the recent G.I. Joe classified figures knows Target cannot be trusted to adequately stock anything. So I don't
disagree with you. I've been trying to get those G.I. Joe figures myself, but the Hasbro seems to really like that marketing model. Okay. So man, help me out here. I'm trying to get them to get me a Justin Hammer figure. If they love that kind of multi-marketing, spreading out to multiple consumers, original, exclusive to retailers, let them have their fun.
Okay, maybe just put it on Hasbro, or guess what? 5-figure pack for the 4 drones, Justin Hammer. Throw in the acrylic podium. We're sold. You throw in the
with
podium.
Actual rolling wheels.
Oh my God. Would that be amazing? I would put in a new shelf just for that set, because that's how awesome this is.
His 10-year anniversary just passed.
Oh, why didn't they do this?
I know.
Okay, so we digress.
Yeah, we digress.
So
it's been an episode of digression. So then he says Navy, and that's where the minute comes to an end. We actually don't get to see the Navy drones. They literally stop when he says Navy.
He does a really cool, I don't know what it's called, when his hands go apart like he's sliding.
A flourish.
A flourish. It's a flourish.
It's a flourish.
He says Navy, an aircraft carrier appears on the screen, and that's it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't wait to talk about the rest. Oh, you have to listen to tomorrow.
You have to listen to
the next episode.
That's right.
Because there's so much more amazing details to talk about.
And especially about music. So you're not going to want to miss it. So in the meantime, while you're waiting for that to drop, you know what you could do is leave us a review. That's right. We live and die by our reviews. Mostly live. So if you go to wherever you catch your pods, if it's Apple Music, if it's Google Podcasts, if it's Pocket Cast, if it's Spotify, and drop some happy words in there about what you like. I really like it when they go on long tangents that have very little to do with the movie. Well, then you're listening to the correct episode, because that's one of the fun things we do. Let us know. It helps us know what you're liking about the show, and it also helps other people to find the show. And if there's a place to leave a positive thing, maybe a thumbs up or possibly a number of stars, my favorite number of stars happens to be 5. So do as thou wilt. In the meantime, be back here from IM95 as we continue the parade of drones, and then we'll also find out what the acronym VTRBS stands for. You don't want to miss that. Enough said.
Bye.